Okay. All right, Sherry, so I'm looking at your project. Please excuse, I have to leave my office door open because it's too hot in here and they've got tax help at Colorado going on right now, so you might hear a lot of kind of chit-chatting in the background. Um anyway, so I'm looking at the animation that you sent me and it's actually pretty good. The only thing, like, you did the good exaggeration, you know, where it like elongates when it's squeezing out, and that's exactly what I would have done. The only difference is when I move through here, see how all of a sudden the balloon is just there? So, like, from here on, it makes sense, especially when you have that one kind of pop and it takes one frame and it has a big kind of movement jump. So I think that actually would simulate a real kind of squeeze, and boosh, it just gets released right away. So I think this part is all good. And I can't really see the string just because it's white and it's all transparent. But so the only thing I would change with this is I would have more anticipation where you have the balloon in here and then we see it kind of rise up, and then when it'll get stuck when it's the same width as here. So I think it'll just be easier. You know how to do the string, you did it fine, so we'll go ahead and just create a new one so I can show you how to do this. So it's essentially the same thing. It's just giving it a little bit more anticipatory movement. So we'll go ahead and make a bright red balloon so we can see what's happening with it. So I would do shift and make a balloon that's exactly the width of the cake, and then hopefully I'll do Control G to make it because I accidentally didn't have it in the right mode. So see, the only weird thing is it's like the cake is too short, and because it kind of comes in, which is like what we were supposed to be doing in the project. So that's the only thing that's weird. So let's see what we can do. I mean, this isn't necessarily right, but maybe we can just make it a little bit smaller so it can fit in here, and then kind of nudge that over with the arrow keys so it fits right within that frame. All right. So we'll do insert a motion tween, and it'll say it has to be a symbol. We'll be okay with that, and we can change the name after the fact, and everything else is good to go. Okay, so we're gonna take this guy and say about 5 frames in, we want him to appear up here, and we're gonna leave it there, and we'll make it bigger when it gets here. See how now it looks like it's squashing, or it's looking like it's too big. So he's basically going to move in and scale up a little bit, so hopefully they won't notice that scale. So then if he gets stuck here for a couple of seconds, we can say this next one, we're going to do that squash. So it can look like it's elongating back here. And I just went up 2, so then all of a sudden once it releases, you did the exact right thing by just popping it out, and then there you go. So alright, so it's just basically gonna rise, and then it's gonna pop out, and then it's gonna float up and move away. So we'll see if that works. So usually what I do is I get the basic frame of the animation going, and then I'll start adjusting the timeline. Like these 3 keyframes back to back might be a little bit much, and then I might want to add a little bit more squash because there's kind of only one frame where it's trying to pull out of there, and I might even like nudge it over with the arrow keys and refine it just a little bit. So there we go, and it's trying to pull out and then squash up and then move away. So let's see what we've got here. There we go. So then that little bit of a drift, if it was sort of drifting back and forth, is probably where I would have it. So we might need to adjust the timeline because it still seems to have, maybe we need to just move this down a little bit so we give it a little bit of time, and then it's going to come through, and then we're going to zoom out to not 400%, so we can say by this point in time. Alright, so by this point in time, maybe we want it to be over here, and by this point in time, maybe we want it to be over here, And then by this point, let's get rid of this keyframe. Let's see, click once, right click, clear keyframe, all. So by this point in time, maybe we want it to be up here. And then, maybe we want it to be more right there. And then by this point, we want it to leave. So we'll say it drifts off kind of that way. All right, so again, let's watch it one more time. There, it popped out. So as you can see, it's a little bit slower to drift off here, and I'm not sure why it's ending here. Oh, I know, because it's 71 frames here, and back on the main timeline you only have 65 frames, so we can go back in and make sure that that whole animation will just squash it in. Okay, so there it's going to move out, and by this point in time we want to make sure it's out. Okay, so we could adjust this one a little bit more and kind of see where we're at with it. Kind of like is pulling here, so if we wanted to, we can move this one a little bit down, and we can create a new keyframe here where we do like F6 and we pull it out a little bit more, and then we could even, you know, do this kind of squash like it's tugging. So we can move one more down and hit F6, and we can pull it a little bit more that way, like it's trying to get out. I don't know, it's like moving up. There you go. So it's squashing. Kind of did a weird, like, see how it's skewed right here? So I might need to come over here and fix that. There we go. And it's still a little bit too big, so we're gonna make that smaller. There you go. All right, so let's try that. Okay, I don't know if I like that very much, but I would just keep doing that, going back and messing with the squash and the transform, and trying to hit F6 when you want to create a stable keyframe, and then messing with that particular keyframe, and then messing with the timeline. So you pretty much had it. It was just that all of a sudden the balloon appeared and it was already kind of like stretched out in the cake. That's the only thing that just didn't make sense. The rest of it was actually really good. So anyway, I don't know if I helped you at all, but hopefully you can see my process. Sorry, I'm like exhausted for some reason today, so I sound like a droning on and on. So anyway, all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.